Urban Legend Will Evans, you know what it is, bro? Let's talk about it. Now, Sauce Walka, who's a Houston rapper, has come out and called out Drake, publicly, because he's saying that Drake is doing the same thing with Houston that he did with Atlanta. He's trying to come to Houston and colonize Houston for his own personal benefit, and Sauce don't like it. And this is something that's been going on between these two for the last decade or so. Since like 2015, Sauce has been calling out Drake about this same exact thing. He's actually one of the first people I heard call out Drake for, using cities and colonizing cities for his own personal benefit. And his biggest complaint is basically that Drake doesn't do enough for the community of music in Houston. You don't work with Houston rappers. You don't, make the community of music in Houston, the business of music in Houston bigger. You only come here to benefit yourself. And these are the same things that Kendrick Lamar is calling out Drake for, or has called out Drake for previously with Atlanta. And Sauce kind of touched on that too, saying that you went to Atlanta and you made this artist bigger and you made that artist bigger and you did this for the community of Atlanta. And I loved his explanation of what his thoughts were. It doesn't sound like it's erratic. It doesn't sound emotional. It sounds well thought out. And I want to let you guys hear what he had to say. So first, I'm going to let you guys hear it. And then we're going to come back and I'm going to show you guys the history of this back and forth between these two, because Drake has responded to him in the past and Sauce has been saying the same thing since 2015. So first, let's hear what he said recently in his most latest interview. And then we'll come back and I'll give you guys the history. Check it out.
What I was saying, it's not make believe. It's simple. It's not fucking rocket science. It was simple shit. If you in this city and you saying like what you just said that it wouldn't be no
Drake without Houston.
It wouldn't be no Drake without Houston. Okay, so at the time, why did Drake not? It's still to this day. Why did Drake not have no bunch of records with Houston artists? You didn't doing that with Atlanta. If you love Atlanta and you got it's 7, 8, 9, 15 artists that you got songs with in Atlanta. Because why? Yeah. Not only does that the city of Atlanta was going to look
Urban
at
Legend
you
Will Evans
weird for not doing that, look at you and feel a certain type of way by you not making those songs and making those moments with that city. But you knew that it was also beneficial for you as an artist to make music with these songs, because the leveling of stardom and momentum, it feeds each other, versus you feel that I'm just the A-side artist that's lifting up this musician. But as far as the city of Houston, you looking at it for the market share. All of these country people in Houston, they got all of this land, all these clubs, all these women, all these people in these big arenas and events that's going on, but they don't have a large community and representatives of people that are knowledgeable about the music industry, that have resources that can say, hey, y'all been around this artist and you helped them, you was in the studio when they was making that song, you told them to add this and this on the hook, you get a couple writer points for that. Or you was up in there when you made the beat, you supposed to get, okay, y'all was in the, you brought him to Houston and you took him to this club and you took him to this hood and you introduced him to Charlamagne. It's a feature and a song come behind that. In every other city, it's a long list. California, it's a long list of artists from the Bay all the way to LA. They got Drake's songs with Drake. So how
Urban Legend Will Evans
love Houston so much at that time and not have music with artists that you are uplifting from this community? Fuck me, I don't care. It's bigger than me. I didn't care about the song with me.
Making a whole lot of sense to me.
You know what I'm saying? But what I would like from then to now, Travis Scott is the only rapper that still got a song with Drake. Travis Scott, again, what I just said earlier, it makes sense. It's an equal trade. It's not necessarily like, oh, bro, I'm helping Houston and changing your life and changing your career. And it's bigger than just saying, oh, well, person wants the Drake stimulus package, about all of that. It's about fair exchange in business. If you are using the lineage and the culture of somebody's city or somebody's hometown and backyard, do something that helps not yourself and your more of your notoriety for your own benefit with the ladies and the people in the city. Do something that actually makes the economy of that city and music and musicians bigger and greater. So therefore, we can have Rolling Loud in Houston. We can have more young artists performing on bigger platforms, Jimmy Fallon and Jay Leno and all this other shit, because an artist of this magnitude is living in our backyard. That's all I was saying. Not just for me, just for anybody.
Literally living.
All right, man. So there you guys have it. Now, the history of this beef goes back about a decade, man. So Sauce has been saying this for the longest, man. He hasn't come out and said anything new. He's basically saying the same thing that he's been saying, and he's one of the first people that should be credited as calling Drake a culture vulture from this standpoint. You know, the same things that Kendrick Lamar is saying on this song, Not Like Us, when he says, you know, Drake ran to Atlanta when he needed check balance and different things like that. Sauce has been saying those things since 2015. So this is not new. A report says Sauce Walka and Drake had issues dating back to 2015 when the former took shots at Drizzy over his Houston Appreciation Weekend, as well as what Walka viewed as Drake's overall appropriation of H-Town style. He said a nigga use our culture for lyrical content and ain't giving nothing back but a family fun day and some money to some hoes he tricking on in the club. That's what Walka said at the time. He said this BAN, not FAN this time, it's BAN, make music with artists from everywhere but Houston. So Sauce Walka has been calling him out for this, and obviously the fans got on him back then and said, you just want to feature with Drake, you just wanted Drake to work with you and blah, blah, blah. But Sauce Walka has been consistent with this for the last decade, and he's only gotten bigger and better as an artist. So I want that to be noted too. It's not like he needs a feature from Drake or anything like that. He's actually very successful. Drake responded to this with a video on stage at his Houston Appreciation Festival when he was performing, and he said this to Sauce.
I don't give a what any nigga ever says about me. This is a place that I love with all my heart. I'm trying to give you what I'm trying to take from you. You understand what I'm saying?
So after that, Drake responded to Sauce Walka with, you know, leaving sleeping emojis in the comment section of a post, and it said, as well as a brief speech at the Houston show. And, you know, Sauce Walka kind of doubled down on this in 2018 on an interview that he did with My Expert Opinion. And he said that he disliked when he feels like the history or culture or the pride or the style of his city is being mistreated or misused or given a platform, and we're not able to indulge and be a part of that. So basically, Sauce is just saying, you know, you using the Houston culture, you using the Houston heritage to benefit for yourself, but you're not allowing us to participate in that. You know, you're just using it for yourself, taking it, riding that wave, and then getting out of here when you don't need us no more. You're not helping us be bigger or better. And he says specifically, it's not just for him. He's not looking just for a handout for himself. He's looking for help for the whole city, the music business as a whole in Houston. He wants it to be as successful or as popular an area as LA or Atlanta or New York for the music business, especially if you're going to come down here and be and benefit off it being as big an artist as Drake is. So I understand what Sauce is saying at that point. Now, it seemed like at one point they did piece this up prior to this interview, and I don't know if this interview pulls a scab off of that wound, but it seemed like they had pieced it up in the past and seemed like they was cool. They had been seen walking in the club together, and it seems like, you know, for a period of time before this Kendrick Lamar situation this year, that Sauce and Drake had, you know, squashed this little issue between each other. But maybe it's because Drake's seen it coming, maybe Sauce feels now like, oh, Drake's seen that Kendrick Lamar was going to do what he did, and you wanted somebody, you needed an area or something like that to stand behind you, and so you wanted to piece it up with me, and maybe you felt like that was a good look. Maybe that's why Sauce is speaking the way he's speaking now in this interview. I don't know. Obviously, I agree with a lot that he said in this interview, but my personal opinion is I think that Drake is one of these artists, because he comes from another country, it's hard to be relatable in the States because we don't know what Toronto is like. So he has to come and kind of ingratiate himself in a community for his own benefit. Now, if you're from that community, I understand 100% coming from an area that is not well represented in the music business, and then somebody coming and they're your representation, but they're not really a representation of your community or of the heritage or of the, you know, the style or whatever you feel like coming from the area you coming from. So I understand, you know, feeling like that person should do a little more. If you're going to use our culture, then do a little more for our culture. Don't just use it and then run to Atlanta and make all the Atlanta artists big and then come back when, you know, Kendrick Lamar is dissing you and you can't run to Atlanta right now because it would be a bad marketing look. Now you want to come back to Houston and work with us. I understand Sauce feeling that way if that's how he feels. But from a business perspective, I do get that Drake is just doing what's best for Drake, you know, and he don't owe nobody nothing technically. But from a cultural perspective, we feel like as a culture of black people, when you use us, help us. Don't just use us because we so used to that. You know what I mean? We so used to people coming and taking the inventions and taking the, you know, ideas and taking the styles and then taking it back wherever they come from and then calling it something different when really, you know, you came down here to take that from us. And, you know, it's just black people is just tired of that. So I understand what Sauce is saying from a business perspective. If I take all the cultural aspect out of it, and if I take all my morals out of it, I understand what Drake is doing too. You know, Drake is just like, hey, I need to make the best business move for Drake, for Aubrey Graham. I'm making the best business move. And that's what he's doing. And, you know, whether we see something right or wrong with that, that is what it is. It's probably not emotional for Drake. It's probably just, I'm just doing what's best for my brand. And right now he needs an area to stand behind him. And it seems like Houston is, you know, an area that he can use right now because Jay Prince is down there and he feels like he has the connections down there that he can use that area to get back in the position that he needs to be in. And I believe that that's what he's going to do. And I think that's kind of what hurt him in the Kendrick Lamar battle, hurt Drake in the Kendrick Lamar battle in general, because Kendrick had an area, California, the whole coast of California was rocking with him. And, you know, it's easy to win if you have a whole area that's going hard for you, marketing wise, promotion wise. Everybody's playing not like us. Everybody's making everybody else play not like us. You know, it's hard to go against an artist in a battle, especially when they have a whole area behind them and you have somewhere that's so far from the culture of what we know. They're not really, it's not really comparable. So I think that's what hurt Drake in this battle, not having that area that's like we going, you know, hard for Drake no matter what he does, right or wrong. Kendrick has that. So Sauce is basically saying don't use us as that unless you're gonna help us in that way. But then that kind of becomes friendly extortion if you on Drake's side of it. So I understand him maybe not, but he's done it for other places. So I don't know, man. I go back and forth on it. But my morals personally, I believe that Drake should help the community and help the culture of Houston, especially because we know, you know, they've been a big part of what Drake has done in the last decade or so. So he always down there. He has a house down there. Why not make that area bigger than what it is? It would only benefit you in the long run. And they will look at it a certain way too. Also, though, I have to note, maybe Drake doesn't feel like doing that anymore because how Atlanta flipped on him. You know, the way he did that for Atlanta, and Atlanta still kind of flipped on him when this Kendrick Lamar thing came up. Maybe he feels like, you know, I'm not doing that for nobody, for no area again. I'm going to just benefit off y'all. Y'all don't really love me anyway. So I'm going to just take what I can off y'all. I'm going to make the white people love me. And that's what it is, man. So I don't know, man. That's how I feel about it. Urban Legend with Levins, you know what it is, man. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you guys on the next topic. I'm out of here.